Imagine you're sitting on the cold tile of your bathroom floor. You've locked the door. Your hands are shaking so hard you can barely hold your phone. On that phone is a voice recording. It's a recording of the argument you had with your husband just 10 minutes ago in the kitchen. You press play. You hear your own voice, crying, asking why he's angry. Then you hear his voice. Calm, steady, almost pitying. He tells you that he isn't angry. He tells you that you started screaming. He tells you that you are imagining things again. But as you listen to the recording, you realize something terrifying. You didn't scream. Not once. In fact, the screaming match he just described to your face, the one that had you apologizing and questioning your own memory, never happened. You have the proof in your hand. But instead of feeling relieved, you feel a cold pit in your stomach. Because for the last 3 years, this man has convinced you that your brain is broken. He's convinced your mother, your friends, and even your doctor that you're losing your grip on reality. She had journals, screenshots, and witnesses, and she still spent 3 years believing she was the problem. How does a rational, educated woman lose her mind on purpose? And more importantly, how do you know if it's happening to you right now? Meet Sarah. Sarah is 34. She lives in a quiet, tree-lined suburb outside of Columbus, Ohio. She's a kindergarten teacher. People love her. She's the kind of person who remembers your birthday and always has a spare umbrella in her car. She's organized. She's grounded. Or, she used to be. 7 years ago, Sarah met Mark. Mark was everything she thought she wanted. He was a project manager, charismatic, decisive, and deeply attentive. In the beginning, it felt like a whirlwind. He would text her every morning. He wanted to know every detail of her day. At the time, Sarah thought it was devotion. She didn't realize it was data collection. They got married in a beautiful ceremony. They bought the house with the white fence. To the outside world, they were the stable couple. But slowly, the atmosphere in the house began to change. It started with small things. A set of keys Sarah supposedly misplaced. An appointment she allegedly forgot. Mark would sigh and say, "It's okay, honey. You've been under a lot of stress. Let me handle the schedule from now on." Sarah felt grateful. She didn't realize she was handing over the keys to her own reality. If you've ever felt like you are too sensitive or remembering it wrong, pay close attention. This is how the trap is set. The psychological term for what happened to Sarah is gaslighting. It's named after a 1944 movie where a husband dims the gas lights in the house and tells his wife she's imagining it. In Sarah's case, it wasn't the lights. It was the truth. By year 3 of the marriage, the forgetfulness became a daily theme. Sarah would say, "Mark, we agreed to visit my parents this weekend." Mark would look at her with genuine concern and say, "Sarah, we never talked about that. Are you feeling okay? You've been so confused lately." He wasn't aggressive. He wasn't yelling. He was concerned. That's the most dangerous part. When a person yells at you, your brain goes into fight mode. You know something is wrong. But when a person uses a soft voice to tell you that your memory is failing, your brain goes into doubt mode. Sarah started keeping a journal. She would write down conversations the moment they happened. One Tuesday, Mark came home and told her he'd lost his job. They cried together. They planned their finances. The next morning, Mark got dressed in his suit. Sarah asked what he was doing. Mark laughed. He said he was going to work. Sarah said, "But you said you were laid off yesterday." Mark stopped. He looked at her for a long time. Then he whispered, "Sarah, that never happened. I think you had a nightmare. This is getting really scary for me. Do we need to call your doctor?" Sarah ran to her journal. She looked for the entry. The page was ripped out. Imagine looking at a blank space where your memory should be. Who do you trust? Your husband, or your own mind? By year 5, Sarah was a ghost of herself. She was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. Her doctor put her on medication. Why? Because Mark had gone to the doctor with her. He sat in the chair, held her hand, and told the doctor about her episodes of confusion and paranoia. Sarah sat there, silent. She believed him. She thought, if the person who loves me most thinks I'm sick, I must be sick. This is the peak of the Gaslight Tango. The victim stops fighting and starts apologizing for their own existence. But then came the recordings. It happened on a random Saturday. Sarah had started leaving her phone on voice memo mode, hidden under a pile of mail on the counter. She didn't even know why she was doing it. Maybe it was a last-ditch effort by her survival instinct. That afternoon, they had an argument about a credit card bill. Mark told her she had spent $500 at a boutique she'd never visited. He called her reckless. He told her she was dissociating and buying things she didn't remember. Sarah went to the bathroom, locked the door, and played the recording. She didn't hear a conversation about a credit card. She heard Mark talking to himself. She heard the sound of him opening her purse. She heard him wrestling through her things. And then, she heard him start the argument. He wasn't reacting to her. He was following a script. He was manufacturing her madness. In that moment, Sarah didn't feel angry. She felt a level of terror that most people will never know. She realized she wasn't living with a husband. She was living with a psychological surgeon who was operating on her brain while she was still awake. The most dangerous lie is the one that sounds like love. Why would someone do this? Psychologists like Dr. Robin Stern and Dr. Stephanie Sarkis have studied this for decades. It's not always about being evil. It's about power and control. Gaslighting works because it attacks your internal working model. That's the part of your brain that tells you the world is predictable. When a gaslighter changes your reality, your brain's alarm system, the amygdala, goes into overdrive. Eventually, the brain gets tired of being in a state of high alert. To stop the pain, your brain makes a choice. It decides it is easier to believe you are crazy than to believe the person you love is a monster. This is called cognitive dissonance. Mark used a three-stage process. First is incredulity, where you think it's just a misunderstanding. Second is defense, where you fight back with logic and receipts. Third is depression, where you give up. You accept their version of the truth just to have peace. Sarah was in stage 3. She was the perfect victim because she was empathetic. She wanted to understand him. And in a relationship with a manipulator, your empathy is the weapon they use to destroy you. If you feel like you have to record your conversations to prove you're right, you've already lost the relationship. Sarah didn't leave that night. It took another 6 months. When you've been told you're incompetent for years, you don't believe you can survive on your own. You don't believe you can drive a car, or pay a bill, or hold a job. She had to escape her own marriage like it was a prison camp. She waited until Mark was on a business trip. She packed a single suitcase and moved into a domestic violence shelter. Not because he hit her, he never laid a finger on her, but because the psychological damage was so severe she was suicidal. Today, Sarah is 37. She still lives in Ohio, but she's in a different city. She has what therapists call complex PTSD. Even now, 3 years later, if she loses her car keys, she has a panic attack. She thinks, is it happening again? If a friend forgets a lunch date, she wonders if she hallucinated the invitation. Healing from gaslighting isn't about learning to trust others. It's about the grueling, painful process of learning to trust yourself again. Mark? He moved on within 3 months. He's currently engaged to a 26-year-old nurse. He tells everyone that his first wife had a nervous breakdown and he just couldn't save her. He is still the hero of his own story. And Sarah is finally okay with being the crazy one in his. So, how do you protect yourself? How do you make sure you aren't the next Sarah? If this story felt a little too familiar, here are 3 clinical red flags you need to memorize. First, watch for the shift in reality. In a healthy relationship, 2 people can disagree on how something felt. But they should never disagree on what actually happened. If you find yourself saying, I have the text right here, and they say, that text is a glitch, or you wrote that to frame me, you need to leave. Second, look for the isolation of your sanity. Does your partner tell other people you're unstable or forgetful under the guise of being worried about you? This is called preemptive gaslighting. They are destroying your credibility so that when you finally cry for help, no one believes you. Third, trust the physiological response. Your brain can be tricked, but your body can't. Do you feel a sense of dread when they walk in the room? Do you have chronic headaches, stomach issues, or brain fog that only clears up when they are away for a few days? That is your nervous system screaming the truth that your heart is trying to ignore. The truth is, Sarah didn't choose a monster. She chose a man who felt familiar. And that leads us to a darker question. Why do we sometimes walk right into the arms of the people who are destined to break us? Next week, we are looking at the story of a man named David. David is 41, successful, and handsome. But he has a type. He keeps falling for women who are cold, distant, and eventually, cruel. He thought he was just unlucky in love. But as it turns out, he wasn't looking for a wife. He was looking for his mother. We are diving into repetition compulsion, the terrifying way our brains try to fix old childhood wounds by reopening them in our adult lives. He thought he had a type. His therapist said he had a wound. Do you ever feel like you have to double-check your memories after a fight with your partner? Tell me your story in the comments. We read every single one, and you might find that you're much less alone than you've been led to believe. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Understanding the psychology is the first step to taking back your power. I'm your host, and this has been a look inside the shadows of the human heart. See you in the next episode.